You're listening to The Front Porch Show. Some shows are niche shows, talking about specific topics. Others, shows about nothing. This show is the show about everything. On The Front Porch Show, we'll talk about current events, some news, a little bit of politics, along with a whole lot of life. Welcome to our Front Porch. 1-402-799-1811. That is the message line number. You are with Ozzy, Just Jeff, and myself. We're holding down the fort today. Tombstone is doing something. He went incognito this week. It was a little weird.
Yeah, right?
He popped in to our conversation over some interesting stories then just...
He popped in, dropped a bombshell, and then never replied to any of it.
I know.
Which is basically just Tombstone.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, yeah. I'm waiting for him to just all of a sudden come up on the screen, and he's just here.
He's like, hey, guys.
Oh, hey, what's up, guys? It's like, yeah, you didn't reply for like 4 days, did you there, buddy? Anyway.
Wow. Don't take it personally, Ozzy.
I'm not bitter at all.
Don't take it personally. I mean, good grief. Ozzy, I got to ask you a question because you mentioned something about chainsaws.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
What are you doing?
So sounds dangerous to me.
I love it.
I like it.
So I am surrounded on at least two sides, by woods. And I also have a tree that's about 10 feet, 15 feet off my porch that had some rather large branches, huge oak tree, about 40 feet high. Branches that I cut down were extremely dangerous, and it was a lot of fun. And I was standing on top of a ladder with a pole saw. It was pretty awesome.
Now, were those the pictures that your children were chopping up the trees?
Those were the pictures, yes. So
That's right.
These are
Make them work.
I don't know. I want to say maybe 8 to 10 inches wide branches that I took down, and they were about 20 foot long each. And so I don't have a chainsaw. My father-in-law let me borrow his, which I have. It rained the past couple days, so I didn't get to use it, but I get to play with that today.
So you're going to chop up those branches?
I am going to do that. And we have a couple more that fell in the woods that are like on our property, so I'm going to cut those up too, and then we're going to have a big bonfire and sacrifice to our gods.
Okay, that went strange quickly.
I was gonna say that's probably a lot of 8-inch wood, right? I mean that's pretty nice fire pit wood.
They're pretty good. Yeah, they are actually significant. They were terrifying.
Season, but
they were terrifying coming down. So
don't be all boomer, Jeff. You don't have to let it season. Let it smoke.
If you use enough gasoline and oil to help start the fire, then it doesn't really matter if the wood is seasoned. But
I distinctly remember my dad, when we lived in Indiana, starting fires with gasoline.
Oh, yes. Isn't that terrifying?
That is such a 90s thing. It's hilarious. And we used to burn leaves and stuff in Indiana.
If you do it smart, you can do it.
But, oh, man, dude, I remember it was...
The trick is do not add the gas after the fire has started. If you're like, oh, it's kind of dying down a little bit, I'll pour a little more gas on it. No.
Light several matches and throw. Don't just stand next to it.
What?
Not a good idea.
Now, was it an electric pole saw or just a manual pole saw?
Manual pole saw.
Yep.
Oh, those are hard.
I was about 10 feet up.
That's why he's looking so buff today. He's cutting through 8-inch branches with a pole saw.
These were about they were probably about 20 feet off the ground. So I was standing on top of 10-foot a ladder. I was leaning up against the tree.
Which was on top of 6-foot a ladder.
Sawing this thing at full extension of the pole saw, cut about halfway through it, threw a rope around it, hooked it to my John Deere tractor, and pulled them down. It was pretty awesome.
Wait.
I thought you were just
didn't
gonna
cut
tell
the
your
rest
kids
of the
to
way
stand
through?
under and catch it.
No, dude. All right, so you have to understand, these were overhanging my porch by about 10 feet.
Gotcha.
That's why you have your kids stand on the porch and just say, catch this when it comes down.
I had to yell at them so many times to get out of the way. I'm like, you're going to die, and your mother is going to kill me.
You've got spares.
No. Listen, I can't take all of them out. That was the problem.
Okay. Kids. They want to help so bad. They want to help so bad. And you're like, I just need space. I need to be able to do this.
You don't understand. Dad may not come back from this, and he can't take you with him.
It's like
your mom will desecrate my corpse.
It's like, do not make Daddy say bad words.
Well, just more like don't be around while Daddy says bad words, because that's going to happen during any kind of project like this.
Okay, you want to hear the bad words? No, we're not going to discuss the bad words I was saying last night.
Where's the cacaw sound?
I bought a couple weeks ago. I bought a Harbor Freight cement mixer for doing some concrete work around the house.
That sounds like it's going to be horribly disappointing.
It's called a one-time use cement mixer.
It's called a wheelbarrow.
And for
pour the cement in the water.
Yes. I was gonna I bought it to replace the wheelbarrow because I tore my rotator cuff when I was mixing cement in the wheelbarrow. And so limited use. It's actually going to be cleaning brass for reloading. And
okay,
I've got it running now.
Cool.
Just using it like a wet tumbler, basically.
No, it's dry tumbler. I got the litter in there.
Little pellet dudes or whatever.
I've just got an actual dry tumbler from Harbor Freight.
Me too.
Wait. What do you mean litter? What do you use? Cat litter or something?
You use lizard litter. Crushed walnut shells.
It's crushed walnut shells.
Or rice.
I said rice or Lee.
I did not know that.
Rice works as well.
That's random.
I didn't know that.
How about rice-a-roni?
I learned that because I learned that I can buy 50 pounds of rice for $9 as opposed to 50 pounds of litter for $40.
Interesting.
So I think I might be.
Do you ever use like crushed corn hulls or whatever?
I've used that, yeah. I was thinking about. I had a big old bag of wood chips. I was thinking about throwing those in.
Does it make the rice taste a little metally?
Little metallic,
when you use it? Yeah,
little metallic.
Little metallic.
A little bit of lead in the rice.
So may I first get to the point of the Harbor Freight instructions are terrible?
Well, yeah, you're not paying them to write good instructions.
They were written in illiterate like Bangladeshis and then translated to English.
There were 13 baggies with parts.
Ooh,
okay.
I don't buy stuff I have to assemble from Harbor Freight.
Like, each part, I learned my lesson, Jeff.
Have you been to IKEA and ever bought anything?
I have assembled crap from IKEA too, and that's why I will not assemble anything from Harbor Freight.
Each part bag had a number on it. Those numbers of those part bags did not line up with any other numbers in. They didn't line up with anything.
There's some dude in some factory that's just like, just throw it in anyway. It'll be fine.
Sticking numbers on bags.
So I was like, I start with bag 1, which is the bolts to the frame. I think. I don't know if it's the right bolts.
Hold on.
But then I have to bounce to bag 13, and there's no reference in the instructions to go to bag 13. It's just find this.
At the end of it, did you wind up with 0 parts, needing parts, or with extra parts?
I have 2 washers and an extra hex bolt.
That sounds about right, though, because usually when they pack those bags, they don't actually count them out. They just throw a bunch in there.
Terribly inaccurate, yeah. And I know where 2 of the washers went, so they couldn't fit. They couldn't fit. There was no way. There was no way. There was no way there was clearance. It was on the.
You mean you didn't drill out the 1/4 more of the washer that you needed?
No, it was on the motor shroud. For some reason or another, when they pressed it, I mean, shockingly, Harbor Freight, it wasn't exactly accurate when they pressed it. And so,
you're lucky if they even used a machine to do it.
Some guy there with a hammer.
Some guy is just like, wow. Oh, missed that one. Nice. Oh, well.
I love Harbor Freight, guys. They've got great cheap tools.
Yes, they do. They are great.
If you want limited usage of your tool, like if you're getting something that you don't need
one-time use, you're going to destroy it and throw it away.
This will last a while. It's actually pretty strong. The motor is a decent motor. I was shocked. It was good heavy duty.
Which means it'll probably
half
rip
horsepower.
Apart the rest of it.
Yeah.
Probably.
Of course.
It's no Honda, I'll tell you that.
Of course, it won't spin. It won't spin correctly because it'll be too much friction because it's missing 2 washers that Mathis decided didn't need to be in there.
Probably.
That's the key. That's what kills it.
My big thing is I really need to figure out where that extra bolt goes.
You'll find out the first time you run at full speed.
It comes flying off there when brass comes flying at you.
Now, did you only get this for brass tumbling, or did you get it for cement mixing and you're just using it
I did get it.
Brass
So I got it with the intent of brass tumbling because I've got to do 15,000 in the next week and a half.
You could also use it to polish rocks.
You can. But I'm not going to be able to I'm not going to be able to do that in my little 100-piece vibratory tumbler. And so I needed to expedite.
Weak sauce.
It takes like 4 to 5 hours per batch.
So how
in the vibratory tumbler? So it's like
how many rounds are you doing at a time in the cement mixer?
I put 1,500 in there right now, but I don't really have enough litter, so it's just kind of getting collected on the bottom and only tossing like a quarter of it around.
They're just tumbling against each other.
So they are
cleaning the brass with brass.
They are basically. So I had enough. I had about 3 gallons of litter, and so there's some in there, but I really need about twice as much litter and twice as much brass in order to really get it going, to get that flop going to start transferring the material. But beggars can't be choosers. There's nothing I can do about it right now. So, I might go into town and pick up a 50-pound bag of rice later. So
put a bunch of dirt in there, and
that sounds like yeah.
I don't see the problem with that. I mean,
you could put rocks in there and tumble the rocks and the brass.
No. I'm actually in agreement with Jeff. Use dirt, and then you can save on how much gunpowder you have to put in them.
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome.
Now we're talking.
We're instilling confidence in your people that are buying these.
That's terrible. Thank you.
Wait. Forget dirt and forget the tumbling media. Put the gunpowder in the tumbler, and the cases will just fill themselves while they're tumbling.
Okay,
that's brilliant,
guys. Dude, we are saving steps here.
So much money.
You know, reloading is a semi-accurate.
I mean, they might load themselves.
Right.
If you believe in evolution, then you gotta believe some of those rounds will load themselves.
You know what you need to do? You can heat seal them.
Oh.
All you gotta do is just heat it up while it's going on. I don't see any problem. Right.
Yes.
Open flame, man, like a blowtorch or two.
The original convention for filling cases back in the day was you fill up your case with as much powder as possible and then just squish the bullet in on top of it.
So what's the problem with that?
Sounds like exploding rounds everywhere.
Yep, basically.
Unless you had a really inefficient powder, I guess. And then you're just shooting powder out the end of your gun.
Yeah, it was questionable. Anyways, there was a whole school of thought that did that, and it was terrifying.
When you say back in the day, you mean like
blunderbuss
40s,
when the first
50s. I know some people. I know some people still alive who do that.
With what kind of powder?
I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
I mean, if you put like tight group, if you put tight group and you filled a 45 ACP casing with it, you would explode any 45.
Yes. There's a reason.
How are these people still alive?
Better
maybe
steel?
That's why you're only hearing about it from a few.
It's like they're like, this is how you load rounds. It's the only way. By the way, you only shoot a gun 5 times, and then you throw it out and get a new gun because the steel might be compromised.
Pretty much.
I don't see the problem.
It's terrifying. Like I was like, wow. I mean, yeah.
Just scoop it in, fill it up, and on to the next thing. Huh?
You'll be fine. You'll be fine
because you're filling it volumetrically, Jeff.
Yeah. What's the problem?
Yes, you can fill it. All my reloading tables have a volumetric number that you can use to set the powder thrower. Guess what? It doesn't come anywhere near to the full volume of the case.
No. I mean, there's a thing called compressed loads, but when you're just randomly filling a case, it doesn't.
All right. So here's the question that I have, because I'm not really a big thing on reloading.
Okay.
You know, here in New Jersey, we're all about gun rights. You know,
you're gonna have to go to jail for hearing us talk about this.
If you do not reload the case fully with gunpowder, what is the point of having a large case? Why are they so like? Why would you have?
Okay, so
you know what I mean. Why would you not make the case the size of the reloading? Do you need that airspace in between the bullet?
It's a different. So there's like 1,000 different powders on the market, and
they're different shapes.
And they're different shapes, different sizes, different weights, different different volumes. I guess different volumes because obviously they're different weights.
And universally, it's cheaper to do that.
So basically, when you're reloading, I mean, unless you're commercially reloading, you're trying to find the best powder bullet combination for your firearm. And so when I'm reloading, I try to fill the case at least 75% full, because your bullet's going to come in on top of that and fill it up a little bit more.
Right.
And so you're probably going to fill it up 20%. So you've got only like a 5% empty space in that case afterwards. And
okay, so it's not as much as we're talking. It's not like half full.
No, although some
powders that'll do that.
Like Jeff just mentioned.
So it depends on the density, I guess, of the powder to
density
explosion ratio or
density slash burn rate which is basically how much nitroglycerin is in the powder.
Ooh.
So
all right.
Yeah.
Now I do know a lot about dynamite.
What other projects are you working on, Ozzy?
That is one thing that I do know about.
So
at least
why do you
somewhat
need the
about.
chainsaw then?
Yeah, you could have just blown down the trees.
No, but
I would like not to compromise my house at the same time.
Nah.
I don't see.
Yeah, that's one thing Mathis warned me about is and I think even Jeff mentioned something. Another buddy Jeff, because there's two Jeffs, but I'm just Jeff. But the
wow,
the other Jeff, he warned me.
He's not talking about his alter ego.
That's right. It's my other personality.
Split personality, Jeff.
That some of those powders, those really fine.
Jeff Karen.
We got
those
3
really
so
fine
far.
Powders, you could throw like 3 charges or 2 charges in a shell, and not like you could still not fill the shell, and so then you're like double charged, and
then the gun goes kaboom.
Gun goes kaboom in your hand. So,
it's bad.
Not good.
Not a good situation. But lessons learned.
Apparently.
I don't know. What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know
What's
how we
got to do
on
about
that.
lost the tea in China. I don't know.
I don't know either. We'll be right back.
Tea, I saw a stat the other day. If you swallow seawater, there's a very small chance that you actually swallowed some Boston tea.
Well, yeah.
You're also swallowing fish poo and pee too, so there's that.
It was not always a given that the United States and America would have a close relationship.
Hold on a sec. I'm going to get me a beer.
It's Mr. McMillan. Would you like 30 seconds more?
Allow me to introduce myself. The rent's too damn high.
Gentlemen, what is happening with the Democrats?
What's not happening with them?
I don't know. What's not? What is?
I don't know.
So
I've been so preoccupied with the coronas that I haven't really paid that much attention, to be honest.
I mean, Biden has been in hiding. The Democrats now are suggesting that they're going to do a virtual convention. All of a sudden, the Obamas are coming out of the woodwork.
Hold on.
That is true. They have been pretty behind the scenes, and now they've been out a little more.
Is the virtual is the virtual convention actually like anybody really concerned about this? Because I'm just saying they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. They're just doing it in a sleazy way. So why not just hide it and be like, oh, it's virtual, and just make it look better?
You're trying to say they rigged the last one and it was in person?
Are you suggesting something
about the
something went wrong in Iowa or something?
I don't know what you're talking about. I would never insinuate anything against the Democratic Party.
It's not a big deal. Iowa was a trial run. They worked out all the kinks. Trust the app developer.
Is it going to be the same company? I hope it's the same
company. Wouldn't that be
awesome?
It's the same software.
Yeah.
They sent out a patch, and the only patch is the app looks different on your phone.
Yep. Yep. Nailed it. 2.0.
The whole Iowa debacle really proves the point.
It still has
app-based
Buttigieg
voting.
as one of the options.
Oh my gosh. Whoops.
You can click the button and revert to previous version.
It's like the machine. It's like the machines in Parks and Rec. If you vote for Bobby Newport, you get a certificate for a free candy bar. But if you like vote for Leslie Knope, it like cries and asks you if you want to reconsider your vote.
Oh, good times. Good times.
Oh.
So
did you see their special, by the way? Sorry, that's
no,
off
I
topic,
didn't. I didn't see this. I didn't see this.
It's on YouTube. We went back and watched it. It's all right.
Okay.
They sang the entire
"Bye
Bye Lil Sebastian," so that was good.
What a song!
And there was a cold open by Paul Rudd as Bobby Newport, so that was good too.
Nice.
Paul Rudd's amazing.
So how do you see this convention coming off, guys? I mean, we've got Biden. Biden's supposed to be picking a woman as his running mate.
So
he's gonna pick. Well, let's think about this. We've got Elizabeth Warren, Hillary Clinton, and Michelle Obama. Who's he gonna pick?
Ocasio-Cortez. No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh,
wow.
Of those three, I would think if they were gonna do anything with a woman VP, it would be Michelle Obama.
Yep.
Now,
is she legitimately in the race as a consideration?
Well, all of a sudden the other day, was it
Netflix
or Amazon or whatever dropped a
Michelle Obama thing?
Yep. You don't drop those things unless you're doing something.
The Obamas have been coming out more because, like, and again, I do.
Oh, in our headlines
I might
here.
get fire for this. The Obamas have done a fairly good job, at least from my estimation and the news I see, of having left office and kind of early on like during the election, when he was still technically in office and stuff, he threw a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah.
But for the last couple of years, I feel like he's pretty much just been silent. I'm sure he's doing stuff like in Democratic circles that I don't see maybe, but he has kind of done a fairly good like George Bush role of just kind of stepping back and not every day being in the news.
I got to ask you this question, guys. Who's more presidential? Obama or Donald from Queens?
Oh, well,
Obama.
Yeah.
Obama. If you're going to go
he's definitely a better,
and he's a smooth guy.
Right. Right.
Just curious about that.
Right.
Yeah. Like there's no question if you're going to go pure mannerisms.
All right. Here's my other thing that really bugs me is, and it may just be not paying attention to it in the past years whenever you had all the other vice presidents, but do they always call you Mr. Vice President? Because that has been one thing that has bugged the heck out of me with Joe Biden whenever they go into any of the debates or any interviews that he does, they always call him Mr. Vice President.
Yeah.
Versus like Vice President Biden or Mr. Biden.
Just Joe Biden or Senator Biden or whatever else he was.
Yeah.
Like, is that always a thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. They always have.
I don't know
they do it to that extent for everyone. Like, for example, can you imagine, like, for the rest of his life after he's in office, anytime Trump pops up, you think the media is going to call him Mr. President?
Well, they don't even call him that now. So
exactly. So it
normally starts with an A and ends with a hole. So
it's obviously
and it stinks.
Wow. Train of thought lost. Okay.
So sorry,
obviously a show of respect, for the people that when they're wanting to see, they're wanting to pump Biden up, but it's not an uncommon practice to keep confirming the title.
That's what has bugged me is when he started going, and by the way, he is crazy. But when he did the quarantine thing, and then he started doing his like, oh, here's the old man hour with Joe Biden or Vice President Biden. Here's his opinions on how the country should be run during this pandemic, and it's like, who cares? Why do I care about this?
It's very much like a scheme. It's so like House of Cards or political TV show where the obvious agenda is like, oh, we don't think the other guy's running, so you should go put on your brief every day of how you think it should run and show that you have a better, even though you have less information on it, show that you have a better way of running it, which is not a bad strategy. if you have a smooth-talking, intelligent person with a lot of good information.
Oh, dude, his technology.
When you have a guy who can't do technology, who is very obviously, look, guys, he's somebody's dad and grandpa, and he's somebody's dad and grandpa whose mental health is very clearly declining.
Right.
Like, it is.
I feel bad. I feel bad for him. I really feel bad.
Like, why is his wife and his kids? Well, maybe I know why his kid is not saying "Dad, stop," because every time he gets in a high office, his kid lands a very lucrative job with foreign interests. So maybe that's why Hunter Biden hasn't said "Dad, stop." But the
makes you wonder, doesn't it?
They really need to pull him aside and be like, guys, Dad's mental health is not doing great. We do not need to shove him into the most powerful office in the land.
Okay, so who are they going to replace him with? Who are they going to?
So here's my theory. The way they've been slobbering all over Cuomo lately, I think that they're gonna. There's the trouble of committing to a female vice president that I've forgotten about when you brought that up, Mathis. My predictions were either going to be they replace Biden with Cuomo at a convention, which I think would bring a bit of an uproar. Or I said that backwards. Replace Biden with Cuomo. Did I say that right or backwards? I don't know.
Replace Biden with Cuomo.
Replace Biden with Cuomo at a convention, which might bring an uproar, especially after the whole superdelegate thing last time and they tried to correct it. Although Biden, I don't think, is quite as loved as by the entire party, so I don't know how much of an uproar it would cause. Or I was thinking they put Cuomo as the VP and then immediately have Biden step down if he gets elected.
Yeah, but they can't with the whole they promised a female.
You're right. They committed to a female. Ooh. Ultimate move. Cuomo identifies as a female, gets put as the VP.
Wow.
And then there it is.
Folks,
that's
folks,
the 40,
you heard it
that's
here
the
first.
40 chess move.
You heard
Boom.
it here first on the Front Porch Show. Wow.
Wow. Just boom. Popped into my head right when you said no. So you're right.
That's amazing.
They're in trouble with the committing to a female VP, which is why I lean Michelle Obama for that one. But I feel like I do not feel like they expect Biden to actually serve a full term if he gets elected.
Is Michelle Obama okay with Joe Biden, though? That's the other question I have, because she was in the White House with him for 8 years.
Steps to power.
As you say, if he's her vehicle to power, she don't care.
One heartbeat away from the presidency.
Here's the other thing: is she that political?
Yes.
Is she?
Yes.
Do you think that she's just like, she's just the what do you call it? The black horse of the race, where it's just like, okay, she's just steadily been in the background.
You be very clear about the words that you
dark horse.
It's dark horse, whatever
dark
it
horse.
is. Whatever.
Dark horse.
Dark horse, black horse.
Oh, and you thought
I didn't mean that as a racial slur in any way.
What you said last week doesn't matter. We're done now. This is where we're done.
Sorry.
This is where we're done. And it's not even because he meant anything.
The dark horse.
He just pulled a Biden slip up, but because of the way he pulled it, we're done.
I know. Guys, it's been fun.
Was like like Bush and Biden in one segment.
We will be coming back as the Back Porch Show because the Front Porch Show will be soon shut down. I'm sorry.
We'll be coming back as the rec
maybe they'll just go after those old guys in Canada that have the same name as our show.
Oh, well, those Canadians, eh?
That'd be awesome.
They're so shady.
So yeah, I don't know what the Dems are gonna do. I know that it's probably gonna be shady, whatever it is. I mean, let's be honest, the Republicans aren't looking much better lately, but
no. So we got to throw this into the pot. Justin Amash, he's now running as a libertarian.
Yeah.
How does that come into play?
He said he's exploring a run.
He's running as a libertarian. There's no way around it.
So do you think he's going to have the libertarian nomination? Are we just assuming he's going to be the libertarian candidate?
The libertarians are idiots if they don't pick him as their nominee.
Correct.
He's done as far as politics if he doesn't win.
Yeah, because the GOP is obviously not going to let him run again.
I mean, he declared as a libertarian. The libertarians, as of right now, with Justin Amash, have achieved their goal and have one of the highest ranking officials that they've ever had.
Yeah. Only because he switched parties once he was there.
Yes.
But here's the thing. If people don't get bent out of shape over a name, and unfortunately I think there's enough like locked into the party donors that just vote for the Republican, I think it'll cost him his seat here in Michigan.
Oh, it's absolutely going to cost him
as
his
a
seat. He's
representative.
done.
Because if people were truly voting for him policy-wise all along, whatever title he has just switched to shouldn't cost him his seat in that area. But obviously,
yes, but titles, Jeff.
There are a lot of people who are Republicans who just voted for him, or there's probably even a little more liberal Republicans that held their nose and voted for him because he's the Republican, not the Democrat. So he's going to lose all those people.
We love titles, especially when it comes to politics.
Here's the thing. I have liked Amash for a long time, since I discovered him several years ago. Unfortunately, I'm not in his district, but I've really liked him for the most part. I haven't always agreed with him. I love that he's one of the ones that started going on his Facebook page, or having a staffer go on his Facebook page, and explained his rationale for every single vote he took. He literally offers an explanation for every vote he took. And I would read them, and I didn't always agree with the way he came down. He definitely didn't always agree with the party. I believe he has a pretty high Liberty score by some of the conservative groups that score politicians' votes.
Yeah.
Lately, he has disappointed me. I did not care for his stance on the impeachment process. He was one of the few in the since he's so libertarian leaning, he was some of the few that took the opinion of, yes, I'm conservative and on the right, but I do believe that the president, overall, he thought there was abuse of power going on, and there was some kind of shady things that happened, too much power in the presidency, and so he was going to vote yes he did vote yes, I think, for impeachment, because he did believe there was some questionable things going on, which I don't know that I can disagree that there were some questionable things maybe going on. But my trouble with the impeachment, as we talked about with Jay Eldred, was that the reasons the impeachment was happening, the reason it was even occurring, and the direct accusations brought by the Democrats were all just a political move. So it was more like Amash was saying, I don't like some of the other policies and things Trump has done, and since it's been brought up anyways, the impeachment, I think he should be impeached for these correct reasons, when really the whole process had been a sham to that point. And so I didn't feel comfortable using a sham process even for potentially a correct means. Am I describing that right? Does that make sense, Mathis?
Well, I think what you're saying is the ends don't justify the means.
Yeah, and so because I think Jay was kind of the same way. Like Jay agreed the Democrats had done. Sorry, Jay, I don't want to misrepresent your views on the show. You can always call in and correct us if I get it wrong. I remember when we talked with him, and he had some great points. I really enjoyed the conversation with him about impeachment. And he agreed with some of the points that the Democrats had brought against the president, and thought there were some examples of abuse of power. I also think he agreed that there was obviously very partisan political attacks by the Democrats in bringing some of that forward. But Jay's point was, just because the attacks are partisan doesn't make some of the accusations untrue, which I agree. I feel like a lot of them were untrue, and the process was so contrived and manipulated to get to the point where they could actually bring accusations, that by that point Amash was like, well, yeah, there's some real accusations, so let's just use the process and do it. And I wasn't comfortable with that. If you want to impeach him for these things, then go back and impeach him for these things. Don't use this partisan hack nonsense process. Yep. So I disagreed with Amash there. And then just recently, we kind of covered it last week. You had some people, intelligent or not, we have the right in this state to carry firearms, to open carry firearms, with a bunch of caveats on it that I'm not going to explain. And you can open carry those firearms into the Capitol building. And we had some people do that in the recent protest. And folks, it happens every year. We have an open carry rally every year in the Capitol in this state. And the firearm rights groups open carry weapons into the Capitol building every year, and it never makes the national news ever. And it's very safe and very organized, and everything's cool. I don't know about these few jokers that did it in the recent protest, but that caught national attention and spread like wildfire. Now there's a proposed bill in the state to ban the carry of firearms into the Capitol building in response to this.
Shocking.
And Amash has come out and said that he didn't agree with the people carrying firearms into that rally. And it's like, whoa. This libertarian guy that's supposedly so libertarian is saying, in my understanding, I need to find his quote now. Maybe I'll find it during the break. My understanding is he said not that, hey, you should be smart with how you do it, whatever. I think his answer was somewhere along the lines of like they shouldn't or they shouldn't be allowed to type thing. It wasn't like, hey, play your move smart. It was like, yeah, that shouldn't be a thing. So some more research is required, but those would be like the two times I think I've disagreed with Amash.
I mean, so we come back to the Libertarian Party. I mean, it's a dumpster fire. The Libertarian Party's a mess. As I told Tombstone the other day, I was like, the only difference between the Libertarian Party and the Republicans and the Democrats is that the Libertarian Party doesn't know how to hide their skeletons.
That's a good point, because they're so like, yeah, just freedom everywhere. It's just dump it all out in the open, and you should accept.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's that. I think they're just a mess. They're like, hey, there's flames. Throw gas on it.
Hey, we talked about flames again. All right.
And again,
I'm on this conversation now.
They don't have a strong organization because they don't believe in strong centralized anything. So maybe that's
so. What are you saying?
No. I'm saying there's too many weirdo anarchists,
Watch out there.
Like there's just I'm gonna offend a bunch of people.
I resemble that remark.
There's so many like
he's beyond caring now. He's like, whatever. I'm just gonna offend them all.
The truth is the truth. There's so many odd fringe groups within the libertarian group.
Yeah.
That it makes it hard to get on board with the simple message of
and you thought what
individual
I said was
rights, individual liberty, limited government. You know.
No, I agree. I agree with you.
Mine has not brought race into it at all, because everyone thinks all the libertarians are just a bunch of fat mouth breathing white guys that live in their mom's basement. So.
I mean, the Amish ones are, yeah.
Wait, what?
What?
I'm dragging Amish into it now. It's all right. They won't hear it.
Oh, Tombstone, come back.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democrat, and I love John McCain. And I also am told that Chuck Graham, state senator's here. Chuck, stand up. Chuck, good to see you. Oh, God love you. What am I talking about? I tell you what.
If we do everything right, we do it with absolute certainty. We stand up there and we make really tough decisions. There's still a 30% chance we're going to get it wrong.
I just thought we had to come back into that, regardless of what we're talking about. It just felt so right.
That music with the "I love John McCain" statement is
how hard.
Amazing.
How hard do you think it would be to bring Barry White back from the dead so that he could do like, you know?
Oh
yeah, some voiceover for this. I mean, he only died in 2003, so I don't see there being much of a problem. 17 years?
Talk to the company that's got Kim Jong-un still running.
Or Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
I wasn't going to go there this time. I wasn't going to go there.
I did.
I was going to stay away from
You're
that
welcome.
one.
You're welcome.
You could literally see the puppet strings.
I wouldn't poke her with a 10-foot pole. Wait. We're so getting fired.
What is the next topic? Pig brine. That's the next thing I have on my list.
Did you know? All right, so apparently recently people have been starting to get insulted by Tropic Thunder again. Have you heard that?
Right.
This was like a big thing on ESPN.
I heard.
They were talking
about
it, and everybody was freaking out.
I had not heard it, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they're freaking out like
it's because we don't have sports. We don't have sports right now, so everyone's like, Tropic Thunder.
People that weren't born in the, by the time it had come out and watched it are like all getting up in arms over Tropic Thunder and all this other stuff. So,
well, you mean like the?
It's because you know what? Here, let's pull up this.
I saw the other day.
Yeah, let's pull up that. It's like the disclaimer on the cartoons, where it's you have to have these cartoons took place in a day and age where race was this or whatever. It had offensive things in it, and they're not okay now, but they were back then. But we're going to show you anyway. It's like, oh well, thank you for that.
I guess I at least appreciate that Warner Brothers was just showing the cartoons and not editing them. But yeah, to have this weird big long disclaimer that's like basically back in this day, people were cavemen and weren't as educated, and so they were evil racist pigs. So we're going to let you view this to see how evil racist pig your parents were when they watched Warner Brothers. So Mathis, as you're stuffing your face with that,
it's delicious pancake.
You
on video too.
I shared.
You're welcome, YouTube. I love you.
Oh, boy. I shared that that disclaimer to you, and you and Tombstone actually chimed in and said, "Well, but really, some of those cartoons were a little racist." So
yeah,
let's hear your
listen.
Reasoning.
Do not go after my Wind in the Willows, or not Wind in the Willows. What was it? What was the Disney one?
Shoot, Pocahontas.
No,
I don't know.
Is Pocahontas racist? I know it is, but it's not like.
I know it.
No, but I mean there is essentially racism involved in it, but it's not. It's condoned.
Right.
It's not condoned.
Right.
Condoned. It's not condoned.
Like whatever. Peter Pan.
I think I was watching a couple weeks ago. I was watching. It was a movie on Disney Plus, and I pull it up and we start watching it. Myron and I start watching it.
Song of the South. That's the one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That one's got some questionable things.
And so we're watching this movie, Myron and I noticed that the people portraying the Asians are not Asian. They are white people with colored skin and pulled back eyes. This is after seeing.
Were you watching James Bond?
Right, and there's another example.
Moonraker.
There's another example. There's another example. And I'm like, is that racist?
To use a white person to portray another culture, if perhaps that's the actors you had available.
Okay.
The question is why did they not have any other actors available?
Can I give you the answer from ESPN that I was listening to that I thought was quite insightful? So anyway, going off of the Tropic Thunder thing where you have Robert Downey Jr. who was playing a black man. Okay. So the reason that they were not offended by it on ESPN radio, who are very offended by most everything race, but the reason that they gave that they were not offended by it is because it was comedy.
Oh,
and
so
because
they allowed
it was
for comedy and satire.
They allowed for it, yes.
That's shocking.
Which makes me wonder
in this era.
Which makes me wonder why they all freak out about all of the people that dress in blackface who are like or like college students back in the day, who were politicians or whatever else, who were just
being dumb idiots to be funny at a party.
Right. So why is one okay and not the other?
Isn't it
just curious?
Well, you had movies like, what was it, White Chicks or whatever, where the two black comedians like dress up as what, like
the Wayans brothers.
To me,
is funny.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So like so black guys dress up as white chicks and make fun of white people.
It's hilarious.
That's funny to me. Okay, so like I'm not going to get all offended. Now they'll
especially
argue
their faces; they were so plastic.
So like systemic, all this stuff, and so it's because your race hasn't been discriminated against for centuries, and that's why you can say that. I don't know. I just like there's a place for comedy, I think, and obviously we do have to be careful to not offend people. And there's obviously some very racist things out like. So there was a picture going around with all these places requiring you to wear a mask, some moron. I'll save you from having to get the caw sound out, Mathis, since you're eating.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Some moron somewhere essentially took a pillowcase and put it on his head. And
I saw that. What an idiot!
Oh, that's a great idea.
Looks like a KKK hood.
Is just,
and I'm like,
that nobody's gonna have a problem with that at all.
Like there are things
that was intentional,
that are
guys.
Not comedy. That is stupid. Okay,
right.
So
that's absolutely stupidity.
And whether it's truly racist or whether it's just stupidity, either way, that's uncalled for. Okay, but you're right. I think some of the things that people call racist, I'm probably gonna get myself in so much trouble. I know one of the ones.
I was bad in the last segment for that one thing.
I know. Well, like for example, we're trying to talk about like old Warner Brothers stuff. I know that one of the ones that supposedly had a warning on it on Disney Plus, although I didn't see it.
I haven't seen any warnings on Disney Plus yet.
Dumbo, the original Dumbo, and the claim was like the depiction of the crows.
The crows were great.
What's wrong with the crows?
Well,
they say it's racist because it's like the cultural like music and
it also is and I did not know this. I was unaware of this. It is not actually a black group of men that do the crows.
So it's white guys.
It is actually white guys.
Accents in the voice.
Yes, it is actually white guys that are doing it. So I think the crows are very funny.
I do too, and like
their jokes are great.
Their jokes are great, and they do kind of like the singing like that they're making an accurate representation of some culture and music, right? Like, aren't they? I'm kind of asking that question because it's been a while.
I don't remember. I don't remember. I haven't seen it in a long time.
I think the biggest problem that they have with that is that the main crow
chose white people to do it.
His name is Jim, so he's Jim Crow.
Oh.
Ooh.
So I think that's as far as I remember, I think
that was so that throws some shade on it right there.
I think that was the big thing in it.
It throws some shade on it,
correctly,
and yet
I gotta look that up. 100%.
There's little like
the.
I'm trying to think of another one now. There's little names like that. Now, obviously, Jim Crow makes it a lot. There's a lot more connotation there, but like Disney is kind of famous for throwing those kind of like little name connections out there that kids might not get, but parents get. I'm trying to think of another one where an animal is named something that.
Dumbo?
Funny.
Oh,
no, there's some where like, you know, the name either means the animal's name or there's other funny names like that out there, and I can't remember it now.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know. I've seen some pretty questionable and racist things in like cartoons and stuff, and I think. Well, I think the disclaimer is kind of dumb. I guess I understand why they do it.
So would you rather have the disclaimer, no disclaimer, or edit it out?
Not edited. I'd rather have the disclaimer not edited. There are and there are movies. I mean, Ozzy was talking about it the other night, that there's stuff that, you know, we don't let our kids watch. Even benign things. Ozzy, do you mind if I mention it? I mean, it was Mr. Rogers.
Right.
There was an episode of Mr. Rogers that you didn't want your kids to see. Just because it dealt with some content matter that you didn't want them to have to deal with yet.
Right.
Which is,
and it's not something that I need. Well, we can talk about it. It's the episode. It's like one of the first couple of episodes in season 3 or something, where Mr. Rogers is talking about divorce.
Right.
And not that I'm trying to shield or hide my kids from the fact that people get divorced, but at this time, my 7-year-old doesn't need to know and worry about that.
Well, and
that's not really something that we need to worry about. I don't need my 7-year-old daughter coming to me freaking out about worrying about whether or not mom and dad are going to get a divorce whenever we have a fight, because how do you explain divorce to a 7-year-old?
And then, you know, what, and it's not even that it's portraying, like, obviously it's a Mr. Rogers episode.
Right. And it's not that he's portraying it badly.
Help kids positively work through divorce if it's been in there, if they've been exposed to it. Yeah, that's obvious of what's going on there. It's not like, hey kids, if your parents get mad, they should just get a divorce. You know, that's not
right,
Mr. Rogers thing.
Right. It's just at this point in time, that's not
Won't you be my neighbor instead of my spouse?
That my kids need to know about. And most of the time, I don't have any problem with Mr. Rogers at all. As far as I know, that's about the only thing that I know that we've ever like censored from Mr. Rogers.
I don't know.
I believe his grandmother made those sweaters. So.
Some of those puppets are really creepy looking.
Oh, dude,
the one
they
with
are,
like the
they?
red nose and the red cheeks or whatever.
Yeah,
and
whatever her name is. The one, yes.
Yeah, super creepy looking. But
we've done basically the same thing with our boys and race. So we haven't basically any TV or whatever that deals with, I don't know, racial issues, almost the vast differences between colored people and
that's why we like Mr. Rogers.
We've just avoided that topic because they have no clue.
Right.
They literally have no clue.
Right. That's why I
have they ever asked you like why someone else looks different? This is a serious question. Like, have they ever?
So yeah, funny situation. We have a girl in our church. Man, I don't want to get too personal here. Her hairstyle.
I'm not asking for you to get too personal.
Yeah, I know. So Myron looks over in the car and sees a girl who looks similar to his friend from his friend from church, and sees her hairstyle is they had basically the same hairstyle. The only difference between the two girls, other than obviously not being his friend, was that her skin was a very vastly different skin tone, and it didn't even faze him. He didn't even think about it. Didn't even notice it. And so, yeah, I mean...
Wait, I thought you were going to tell me about an example of why they've asked you why different people are different colors.
No.
I have an example.
Okay, well, that was another Mathis story that went nowhere.
No, Jeff, it did go somewhere. They don't notice it. It's not one of the things they notice.
Okay, so that does answer my question then.
Color.
Because
whatever it is, right?
Because that was kind of was my question. Is like, obviously you're not directly exposed. You're not like trying to teach them at two. There's this big divide. Because you see things on two sides. You see the people that are obviously racist. They're like, oh, these other people are terrible. And then you have the other people who are trying so hard to fix racism that from like two, they're teaching their kids, look at how different these people are. They've been mistreated. We have to feel guilty because they've been mistreated. And so you have like that other side where in order to correct the differences, they're teaching to see the differences. Yeah. It's kind of like wrong in itself. So you're saying
like
I'm asking, you're just not ignoring the topic altogether, but
we're not ignoring it. We're letting it
develop naturally. You're just letting it develop naturally.
And when the question comes up, it'll come up.
Yeah, and so that was my question: has the question come up naturally yet? You're saying no, it hasn't yet. So
as far as my kids, at least for my daughter, she has asked. I don't think my boys have ever asked, but she's asked because you see people who have dark skin tones, light skin tones. I mean, and everything in
people
between.
Who are translucent like me,
right? And and there are distinct differences, especially when you're looking from a white person to a black person. There are distinct differences, obviously, in skin color. And so, when the question came up,
genetics.
Right, when the question came up, it's that our answer for it is that God has made different people. And so you have people that have light skin, people who have dark skin, but they're all God's creation. And that's all there is. Like, it's just that God has made, just like animals, you have diversity in animals, you have diversity in the human race, not as far as quality, but as far as, people look differently. And that's what happens. Like, that's just how it is. Like, there's
it'd be boring
nothing
if it
else. Right. There's nothing else.
So Mathis, I just realized your children must not sing "Jesus Loves the Little Children of the World."
I don't know if they've ever sang that song
because it specifically says red and yellow, black and white.
I would intentionally not sing that for that reason. Yeah,
you would not sing it for that reason. I wouldn't sing it for that reason. That all people were loved.
No. Now, nice job there. No, because I don't think it matters. Like, We don't need to go coloring people.
I have to say that's why I do appreciate Mr. Rogers, is because Mr. Rogers is extremely diverse in the amount of people that he brings.
Yeah. Okay.
So he'll have, but he recognizes the differences, but you have, like, for instance, you have a black police officer in Mr. Rogers, which at the time was extremely, extremely risky to do.
Yeah.
But you have
also
people,
did in Family Matters, just
right. You have people that are coming in and out that
which was an excellent show.
Yes, it was.
He'll have like Yo-Yo Ma that is on there. He has black people, he'll have Asian people, he'll have white people, and all of them are intertwined with one another, but there's nothing that's different. Everyone is treated exactly the same. Yep. There's no distinct, this person is black, they need to be treated differently than this person. It's just,
and if I can,
this is a person.
Yeah, following off of that, I think that's it. You've obviously watched more Mr. Rogers recently with your kids.
A lot.
but I used to watch it all the time as a kid. And from what I recall, it's what you're saying, Ben. It's because when he brought those people on, when he brought on the police officer who happened to be black, the show was about, here's a police officer. What does a police officer do? What's your job like? What's your flashlight? What whatever. When Yo-Yo Ma, he brought him on. He's a musician. Like, he was not saying, here's a black man who is a police officer. Here is an Asian man who does this. Right. Here is a, it was, here's a musician. Here's a police officer. Here's an engineer.
You were defined by your job, not your race, you're just a person. Not your people group.
And that's where I feel like conservatives actually, I think we get a bad rap because we kind of react against some of the social justice stuff in the modern era. Because like a quote unquote modern social justice, Mr. Rogers would be like painfully obviously going out of the way to intentionally pick the minority and hype up all this stuff about it. And it would be like not even a good representative of that like industry or whatever. They would just go and pick the one person. They would pick like the one trans bi woman, weightlifter and have her on the show or whatever, versus like, this is an athlete, this is a police officer, this is a mailman.
One of the examples I have,
and no one cares,
is that
what
they
race they
did
are.
a brass band. It was like a quartet, right? And it was made up of, I think it was like three white guys and a black guy or something like that. But none of it was brought up. It was just, this is a quartet. This is a brass quartet, and this is what they are, and this is what they do.
And they may have been very intentional. They may have been intentional behind the scenes, but they weren't cramming it down your throat. And they're just they're just people. And that's the side that I think the more like conservative leaning people are like,
and that's,
let's just bring up people, and the distribution of people is the distribution of people.
And that's why I have to say, like, for some of the creation things, and I know how you guys feel about creation, well, at least Aaron, about creationists and things like that, is that one of the terms that I've always appreciated when I've heard it is that, it's getting off of the term races, that you have different races, and distinctly going with people groups, that there are groups of people that are different. We are of one race, which would be mankind, human race, but not, but we're all the same. We're just different as far as skin tones, as far as where we grew up, as far as regions. It's divided into that, as opposed to, distinctly saying, oh, you know what? This is a dog as opposed to a cat. And they're distinctly different. It's like, okay,
but those are different species, and our species is Homo sapiens. So all you're doing there, this is my beef even with that. I get what you're saying, Ozzy. My beef with that is it's just changing the terminology to feel better. Whether you call it a race or whether you call it people groups, we're still all humans. You should still be able to recognize all the things, because we're not different species. We're different races. We're different, subgroups of the same species.
People groups.
Correct, but we have defined for our history those different people groups as races.
I would say yes, they are, as far as the term as my understanding is that race is your difference as far as you're using people group and race as being interchangeable. I would say that
then you
yes,
also have ethnicity, and then you also have
correct,
culture.
Correct.
And
but that's what I would say
too.
is people groups is a less. I don't know. I'm not trying to be
it's
not
less
offensive.
Triggering. It's less.
But
triggering.
I think it's a more apt description of what what it is now, not now, but what it is that you're talking about. It is
you're trying to draw attention to other identifying factors besides just skin, because for whatever reason, race has been associated purely with skin color and not any of the other.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm not trying to betray myself by saying, oh, you know what, we don't need to take this term back. But I think, honestly, I think it is just a more apt term for describing what it is exactly.
No, I get it. I totally get it.
And it also benefits because now race is, way up in the air over what in the world
everyone
can mean and
just
does
freaks
mean.
out about it.
So let's bring this back full circle. Disclaimers, Jeff.
What do I feel about them? is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, what do you?
I think a lot of the thing. I think you're right. I think there's a few things that when we go back and look at them, some of the portrayals are probably not wise, and they're a product of their era. I think that the number of those things that are truly there that probably truly deserve a disclaimer are very, very small compared to the things that are going to get slapped with disclaimers. You see what I'm saying? I think the disclaimer is being applied much more broadly than it probably deserves to be. So are there things out there that are offensive?
Definitely.
That we probably were used to in our childhood? Probably. Definitely. There's got to be a few things out there. Is it as broad as they make it out to be? No, I don't think so. So disclaimers, I think there's a time and a place for them, I guess. I'm sure not nearly as broadly as Warner Brothers and Disney and all those people are applying them. That would be my middle of the road take, I guess.
So now that we've just flexed our white privilege, moving on.
Well,
if this didn't get us kicked off the air, I mean, nothing else can.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about next? I don't know.
It's our last show, so we might as well get it all in.
We are back. Hopefully we're not kicked off the air.
Probably are.
I mean, if we are, it's a free Saturday.
As we said, that's true. I'm giving up hunting scouting for this show this week. But so I don't know, just in the last conversation, like we said, the whole point of this show was to just have like some realistic conversations. And I think everyone's so afraid to like actually talk through their thoughts and be open to changing their minds on social media, where everyone just screams at each other and the people in the middle just don't comment.
No, they don't.
So that was the intent. I see what you did there. So the intent of this was just have some real conversations, right? Like basically the real conversations we have in private text. And then as soon as we get on here, I get terrified to actually have the real open conversations to think through stuff, because it's all going to be taken and twisted and used to malign us. But that's what we were attempting to do there, right? And I think we handled it.
It's a very important topic.
Fairly gently there. The point being, we all, as Ozzy was saying, like our worldview is couched in our faith, and our faith teaches us that everyone is created in the image of God.
Exactly.
And that's all there is to it. So we should love everyone the same way. So
and by that you have an intrinsic value.
Exactly.
That makes you equal to others in
all other humans. All men are created equal. You're all endowed with rights. And
was that straight from the Bible?
No, that is straight from the Declaration of Independence, but it's a good summary of what we're saying.
Wait, that's not in there? That's not what.
Sorry,
Jeff's
that's
version
not,
of the Bible.
It might be in your Thomas Jefferson Bible, but it's not.
Yes.
But yes, we do believe that everyone is created in the image of God, and so they all have equal intrinsic value. And so, are there things probably that we don't notice that some other people take offense to? Probably. That's what we're kind of trying to work through. But I think a lot of things that are considered racist today are just, they're not quite to that level. And I think people are kind of overreacting on the other side of it nowadays for political reasons a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, is there racism that happens in our country? Absolutely. Is it
systemic, intrinsic in everyone whose skin is white or of Germanic, Western European descent? No. And that's the claim that unfortunately gets made a lot of times. So
so interesting, Ozzy, you and I listened to that podcast this week.
Yes.
That was fascinating podcast.
It was really good. Yes.
If anyone, can you bring that up so we can just mention that to the audience? Because they really should listen to it. It was excellent.
They really should.
Who was that? Like it was
okay.
It was an interview with Vadi Bachman.
Vadi Bachman. Yes.
Bachman.
I don't think they spelled it right. Actually, it's not Bachman. It's Vadi Bachman, I believe.
It doesn't matter.
I don't think they did spell it right. Actually. Anyway, so it is from the. Whoa, baby!
Don't play it.
Slow down there.
And copyright violation. Boom.
I know. Right? It is from the Fight Laugh Feast network, which is a bunch of pastors that get together. They discuss things, but it is called the discussion on church and race.
And what was the date on that? Do you have an episode number?
On that,
I think it was August 7th, 2019.
Yes.
I don't know how I remember that. I can't even remember when my wedding date is.
You can't remember what we're talking about in the next segment.
I can't remember when your birthday is. Or your social security number. I've got to write it down.
Yeah, August 7th, 2019. So,
I keep giving it to you.
I know.
Anyway, but it is Vadi Bachman, who is a black man that is from, well, originally from like LA or something like that. Anyway, but he is he's like the president of a school in
Zimbabwe.
Yeah. Now, he was a pastor. He's written many, many books about family, worship, marriage, things like that. Excellent guy.
The whole discussion they had was incredibly insightful.
Right, but they get into race and how it pertains to today,
particularly the church.
Yes, and with the church, and it is absolutely fantastic.
Like it brought up a lot of interesting things.
Oh yeah,
that
it brought
I
up stuff
did not.
We're terrified to talk about.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if they're still talking, we can still talk next week.
It was great. It was great.
But again,
they did have two black men talking about it, though.
Yeah,
it's true.
I mean, you want to talk about it,
that's one of the things we don't have.
I will contend that that's a problem. Why can they talk about it and we can't if we're saying the same thing and coming to the same conclusions? And that's some of the systemic racism that's in our country, actually.
They were using Vadi and then I can't remember
his name. Yeah,
Doug.
Doug.
Is it Doug? Okay.
I think it's Doug.
Because they call him like Chocolate Thunder or something like that. And that's the only thing I could think of. Something like that. And that's the only thing I could think of. And it was, oh man, I was dying. So
it was just a great insightful look at
excellent.
At race relations in the church.
Yes. And how that the church should be diverse in how everything is,
but not forced diversity.
But not forcibly
exactly.
Diverse.
Diversity should not be a virtue to be
thing.
Like sought after. It should be a natural result of
Yeah,
and
natural result of our love and our neighborly actions.
Because, for example, there's a church not far from me here, over near my brother-in-law's house, and one time for a while they had a sign up like that it was something, I wish I could remember it now, because it bothered me every time I drove by, because it basically talked about how like forced diversity, essentially I read it as forced diversity, like basically diversity is like one of their pillars and virtues, and they seek after diversity as a prime directive,
right,
versus due to the gospel
they're seeking it as a prime product and not as a byproduct,
not as a result,
as a byproduct, a result of
of true
the fruit of
faith,
the spirit coming out.
Okay, guys, we got to talk about this. We've belabored this long enough. Not getting to it.
We've avoided this as long as we can.
As I mentioned before, there is racism in our country. I don't know whether or not this was it. Hopefully this is shown in the court systems, whether or not it was. But there was a disturbing video that came out this past week it was cell phone footage of what appeared to be a black gentleman running down the road. He looked like he was just jogging.
Yes. Supposedly he was just jogging. He was literally out for a jog.
And two guys in a white pickup opened fire on him.
Yep.
Well,
and
okay.
The claim was he attacked them first.
I think that's inaccurate, your statement that they opened fire on him, if we're being fair.
Yeah. I mean,
that makes it sound like they drove up in the pickup and shot him down.
Bad headline there. Bad headline on my part.
That's not what happened. So they did pull up and essentially attempt a citizen's arrest to stop him. And he obviously resisted because he's not doing anything. These two dudes just pull up with a gun and try to stop you when you're out for a jog. And so it turned into a struggle over the gun, and then he was shot while struggling over the shotgun with the guy. So not that makes any of this any better, but a lot of the headlines would have you believe a guy's out jogging, two rednecks roll up in a pickup truck and blast him as they drive by.
Right, it was not a drive-by shooting.
Yeah, right, exactly. An altercation went down, which never should have happened in the first place.
That is correct, and so here's a lot more needs to be read into this stuff. The facts I know.
I think the issue are the facts that have been released thus far.
The facts have been released,
which
there have been robberies in the area.
This happened back in February.
Yeah, and this is the the concerning part for me.
Supposedly a robbery happened back in January.
Well,
this video happened in February.
And the thing is that I had heard that multiple robberies had happened in the area, but I don't know. I guess the information on that may be sparse.
The information
the concerning
is
part is it's taken till now. It seems like for more action to be taken on this case.
Well, it took the video being released, and then all of a sudden the DA says, "Oh, we better arrest these two guys."
Yeah, and that's a problem that I see in that area. So there'd been a robbery or multiple in the area. I believe, Mathis, correct me if I'm wrong, that the suspect for these robberies was put out that it was an African American suspect. For the
I believe so. Now there's questionable reports on those robberies.
Correct. They're all just reports. So.
Now reports, but one place that I was reading, and this is the problem that we run into right now. We're not getting full and complete information because everyone's jumping to assumptions right now. So one report I read was that burglaries were not reported until after the video came out.
Interesting.
And then all of a sudden they were reported, and then the father and son were using that as the alibi or as the rationale.
Right.
So for some reason, and this is why people are jumping to the conclusion, because many people claim the reason is specifically race, but these two gentlemen, I don't know if we can call them gentlemen or not, time will tell. These two guys saw this other gentleman running down the road, and for some reason their claim is string of burglaries and the guy fit the description. Other people are claiming white dude saw a black guy running in their neighborhood and immediately assumed he was a criminal. I feel the truth is probably somewhere in the middle of those two. as is usually the case, saw him running, and at least their claim is essentially they were trying to be the local heroes and catch up to him and essentially make a citizen's arrest because they were stopping the guy who they thought was doing the robberies and hold him till police arrived. That's their claim on their side.
Right.
Obviously, the family's claim of Ahmaud Arbery is that he was just out running. He always was out running. And those guys saw him, targeted him for no other reason than he was black. Of course, when they attempted to stop him, he resisted them stopping him because, heck, if I was out running and some dudes just randomly rolled up on me with guns and tried to stop me, I would resist them if I didn't think I had done anything wrong. So, again, for the people that saying, well, oh, he resisted them, that shows that he was, no. If I'm out running and two jokers hop out of a truck with guns and try to stop me, if I can get away from him, I'm going to get away from him.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, and if I can't get away from him, I'm going to stand and fight. So his actions don't show anything to me other than he tried to protect himself.
Right.
And in the struggle over the gun, he was shot. And so now everyone's trying, of course, like this article tries to pull in, it was on the end, 3 days away from the anniversary of the Trayvon Martin. Okay.
Again, that was debunked.
Can we not tie everything back to that? Because that
hands up, don't shoot did not happen.
Yeah.
There are actual legitimate cases where people can make the argument.
Well, I don't think hands up, don't shoot was Trayvon, but anyway.
Oh, was it not?
It was a different one. But Trayvon
Who was Trayvon?
Zimmerman.
Oh, yeah, never
George
mind.
Zimmerman,
Sorry.
which Zimmerman turned out to be kind of a vigilante type guy, but also all the facts in that situation, there was, I don't know, that one was a cluster. But it does appear, here's my frustrating part. Another part I've seen that articles are pointing to is that, well, it was obviously racism because they called the police and said there's this black guy running down the street, blah, blah. Well, okay. If you suspect that comment in the conversation alone, once again, does not prove racism. Now, if the reason these guys called, if the reason that this sparked their suspicion was because it was a black guy running down the street, and that's it, then yes, these guys are racist.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. If the guys had other reasons to call, like there had been break-ins, the guy fit the description of the people doing the break-ins, when you call the police and you're reporting a crime, I mean, people watch live PD all the time now, right? They ask for a description of the person. And one of the easiest descriptions, there's height, there's weight, there's these things. Obviously, race is a pretty easy factor to immediately point out who you're looking for, right? So obviously the dispatcher is going to be asking for a description, and these guys are going to be asked to describe him. And in including describing what he's wearing, they're going to describe his race. So just the fact that race is mentioned in the phone call, to me, does not, again, immediately prove racism. Mm-hmm. However, the way these guys are acting, I am seeing heavy evidence that these guys are probably racially motivated.
Yeah.
But you got to wait for everything to come out.
Yeah, it seems to be, and I think that's the whole thing that obviously nobody's learned, is that you have to be careful before you jump on these bandwagons, because it may not be as you seem. It may be, but to immediately go to race, that's where you got to be really careful, because because that was the whole thing with oh shoot, what's his name?
Which one? Describe the situation.
Was it Trayvon Martin? Wasn't he the one that wound up actually being really shady?
No, that was the other kid.
No. It was the hands up. It was the hands up, don't shoot one.
Yeah.
I think.
Who was that?
Which I can't.
That was in St. Louis.
Because that, you got to be careful, because just because someone is black, is white, is whatever, does not mean that they're necessarily completely innocent or completely guilty.
That was one of the things they mentioned in that podcast the other day.
Your individual actions are what determine your guilt.
In the podcast the other day that that Ozzy and I listened to, it was Vadi Bachman, whatever his name is, said, if you look at someone and your opinion changes based upon the color of their skin, you've got an issue.
Right.
Regardless of which way it changes.
Absolutely.
Regardless of which way it changes.
And that's the key right there. Yeah.
If someone is innocent because they're one color and guilty because they're another color, or vice versa,
correct.
That's the problem.
That's the issue.
Yeah, that's the issue.
You've just done the thing that you're claiming not to be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You need to judge a
In
person
other words,
by their actions.
Reverse discrimination.
And I will say that the video looks pretty damning.
Yes.
It really
does.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Now,
it absolutely does.
I can tell you this.
You got to be careful still.
I would like to see the state police come in and investigate this. I would also like to see the DA recused, because something hinky is going on there, and they are protecting someone. You don't let 6-8 weeks go by without
that is extremely
without filing
shady.
charges, and then all of a sudden have them arrested for murder. When the DA has had that video for months.
That's extremely questionable.
There's due process, and then there's what's going on.
Something's wrong. Something's off.
We're all fans of due process, and I would rather see things take longer than they should to ensure due process happens than to just lock people up on a whim. So if you're going to err on one side or the other, I err on the side of not convicting and freedom, unfortunately.
Yes.
Unfortunately for the victims, that's the side I would err on.
But at this point, it seems like there wasn't anything happening at all.
Exactly. It was just
problem.
like, oh, it happened. It was a self-defense shooting. Everyone go on with your lives. We're going to, if this doesn't come up, we're going to completely ignore it. And all of a sudden now it's being investigated. And that is a problem.
Right. That's where it gets extremely questionable, is where was all of this, and why wasn't anything done, or why? I don't know.
The whole thing's funky. And the thing is, we can't make an opinion on this until it's been investigated.
All the facts come out. And I think that's what we're all saying. It's unfortunate that people saying what we're saying, and again, because of our race, and we're saying it, we're going to be accused of racism and covering things up and all the systemic opinions and white privilege and all sort of things. All we're saying is, a tragedy has happened.
Yeah.
And a most likely avoidable tragedy has happened.
Which is even worse.
Terrible decisions were made. Do not now take this tragedy and weaponize it into an excuse to further divide the people of this country or of this human race that we're all part of, because that's what's happening. And folks, when you interpret news, most people, like, obviously we want up to the minute, quick news bites. So when something comes out, we want to see it in the news. But the people that are so quick to offer their opinion, maybe I'm damning us because we give opinions pretty quickly. But people who are trying to definitively give an opinion and convict immediately on either side of the aisle, those are the people to look out for, because those are the people that are just seeking to divide with their opinion versus waiting for the facts.
I think it's also the instant gratification, that everybody wants that immediacy to everything, and they want it now. They want whatever it is, we have, you can get anything that you want, almost instantaneously.
Well,
you're right.
2-day shipping, and Amazon's been a little slow with that. So it's not quite instant yet.
But I think it's that social media instant gratification, mob rule feel, where it's like, well, okay, this is, and I do pity the people that have to go through all of this, the police, the courts, everybody else, and not that our courts aren't so freaking slow.
Yeah,
my
absolutely
goodness.
Correct.
But there is a process
there's
that
nothing
has to take place
about the trials these days.
You don't want to put someone in jail who has not done anything. We've heard all of these stories that have come out recently about, this guy was in jail
20
for
years later,
20 years, and they found out he didn't do anything. And it's like, seriously, like, there's something wrong with that. Because that needs to be taken care of.
But I think the issue in this case is the fact that it wasn't investigated. It wasn't investigated.
Oh yeah,
that is a problem, and that's why it does stink of some sort of cover up,
and that's why I would say this looks pretty bad at this point in time, unless there's some magically extenuating circumstance now, which still won't make this look less shady, but may explain it.
since it's our last show anyways, and we've pretty much doomed ourselves. Like we hit the iceberg 2 segments ago, and let's just be the orchestra. Let's just be the orchestra. Yeah, we're gonna play on the deck until this thing goes under. Okay. So let me throw this gunpowder onto the fire, since we were talking about gunpowder earlier.
Oh, gunpowder.
One thing that does bother, so a lot of times, when we've gotten to a culture that accepts this, that validates this, victimhood does not equal truth. So a lot of times in these situations, everything the victim's family, even if it's completely racially targeted, completely a tragedy, completely avoidable, and these guys need to get fried, even if that's the truth, the victim's family is too close to this for all of their statements to be taken as gospel truth, 100% accurate, and then for the other 2 guys' statements to all just be made up lies and cover-ups. Okay. Emotion, the victim's family are incredibly emotionally charged, and that is not an accusation against them. They just lost a father, a son, a brother. That's not an accusation at all. The point being is, do you want emotionally charged investigations when your life's on the line, or do you want cool, rational investigations when your life's on the line? And that's why
we don't want feeling enforcers, we want law enforcers.
Exactly. And that's why sometimes justice feels delayed, because the calm, rational investigation needs to happen. And so the day, now again, we're a couple months away, and that's not what's happening here. So as we've said, something stinks here. But when these other I just see this pops into my head as you were talking, and I see this a lot. Some sort of tragedy, shooting, accident happens. The next day, the news is there at the family's house, and the family is saying, just get this person. I just want justice for my son, my brother, my wife, whatever it is. Right. I want the justice now. Why isn't this person in jail? Why isn't this happening? And it's like 24 hours after the event happened. And it's like, in order for it to actually be justice, it has to be deferred. It actually has to be delayed.
If it's immediate, it's vigilantism.
Yes, if it's immediate, it's vigilantism, which it actually appears is kind of what these guys engaged in when they tried to chase the guy down and catch him. And that's another thing, since we are proponents of self-defense, and
this was not self-defense
on the show. This was not self-defense. Right. And even if you're going to
someone into violence against you, it is not self-defense.
And even if you're going to engage in some sort of citizens, or even if you're going to inject yourself into what we call a third-party encounter, where it does not start as immediate self-defense of yourself, but potentially self-defense of someone else, or defense of others' property, if that's legal in your state, okay? You have to be, when you're injecting yourself into a third-party encounter, you have to be sure of what's going on. And I understand some people either have a hero complex, or some people just have a sense of honor that are like, look, I don't want to let this guy get away. The police are not going to be here for 10 minutes. Like, if I can help, that's great. There are probably situations where I have injected myself in a third-party encounter before, when it was very obvious of what was going on. And thankfully it didn't involve it just involved walking up. Well, okay. So I was going into a restaurant one evening to meet my wife for dinner, and there was a couple in the parking lot, like arguing, like having a full-on fight. So I'm walking through the parking lot. I kind of am just trying not to be nosy into their business. Well, at some point, she snatched a phone out of his hand, or he snatched a phone out of her hand, or threw it. But at some point, she ended up between the back of the SUV and him. And she kind of smacked him on the arm, and he shoved her into the back of the SUV.
Yeah.
Well, like, I've been watching this happen as I go across the parking lot. There's another guy out, like, smoking or something outside the restaurant, and another guy in the parking lot. And we all just kind of, like, slowly changed directions, and we're, like, walking up to them as we saw it escalating. And when he shoved her into the back of the SUV, we were like, hey, man, knock it off. And he was like, well, she hit me first or something like that. And we were like, no. Doesn't matter, cut it out. And he kind of cooled off, and she went off and, like, called somebody and took a bus or something, and that's all the further it went. It wasn't like a arrest them, knock down, drag out, any kind of thing. So in those situations, you've got to be sure that something wrong's happening, and you only inject to the level needed to resolve the situation. So you've got to be sure. So when you just see somebody running down the street, you're not Superman, you're not the police. Right. Don't go chase the guy. Now, if you've just witnessed the crime go down and the guy is still a threat to those right around, that's something completely different. And that's not what happened here. So that's just a word of caution to all you people. Yes, we encourage you to carry firearms and weapons for self-defense. Yes, we encourage you to protect your family, protect your neighborhood, be a good citizen. No, this does not seem like an example of being a good citizen here.
Yeah, our hearts go out to the family of Ahmaud Arbery, and I pray that they can find peace, and that the family of the McMichaels can also find some sort of solace in all of this. And I hope I hope justice will be served.
And to everyone else, do not use this tragedy as an opportunity to divide.
For my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa.
That was a non-gendered person, Ken, and you just gave it a gender.
I tried this one chili and it set my mouth on fire, and I had to drink a 2-liter of Mountain Dew.
All right, leave this guy alone with his poor constipated poops. We're going to come back and talk about politics. That's what really matters here.
And in typical Front Porch Show fashion,
I feel so much better that Tombstone showed up there, Give his invaluable opinion.
Thank you for showing up, Tombstone, for that input.
Sadly, I don't think we've actually missed anything with Tombstone in that entire segment right there.
Listen to that breakdown. I like that.
Gonna keep going with this.
Yeah, man.
I feel like this is like Bill Clinton standing up in front with his saxophone.
Oh, yeah.
In his band. Didn't he have a band?
Wow, so many. Yeah. Didn't he play in the White House one night?
Yeah, I think so.
Boy.
Yeah. I mean,
well, yeah.
Jeff, no.
I'm not going to answer that question. I'm not going to answer that question, but there was an entire impeachment trial over that question.
That was the Oval Office, not just the White House.
That's part of the White House last I checked, but I don't...
Guys,
humankind or race?
Now, Ozzy, you sent us a picture this past week of a giant bin full of bacon.
Yes, I did.
But it's not cured bacon.
It is not.
It's just pork belly.
It's not cured bacon. It still has COVID. It has not been cured.
So I got a really good deal at the meat market.
Wow, that's a dad joke if I've ever heard one.
Mathis liked it.
Wow. So anyway, I went to the meat market. We have a meat market at our house that we get a lot of really good stuff. They had a giant 20-pound thing of uncured sliced bacon ends. And stuff like that. So I bought it because it was a really good deal. And I kind of didn't read the uncured part, and it didn't like really click in my mind that oh yeah, this is just bacon straight off the pig, right?
Right.
And anyway, I know this, but I don't really like it. Just didn't click at the time because I was like freaking out at how good of a deal it was. So anyway,
it really is a good deal.
It is a good deal, yeah. So with uncured bacon does not taste like the traditional bacon that you know.
No,
it just is pork belly.
It is. It's just, it's not horrible, but it tastes like pig. And it's just, you got to give it some flavor of some kind. So I'm like, okay, normally when you do this, you're buying the pork belly, but it's in a slab of pork, right? And you do, you brine it and then you smoke it and then you get it and then you freeze it and then you slice it up into bacon when you want bacon, right? And that's how you come up with your good taste and yada, yada, yada. So I've already had the slice up part done.
because it came sliced
that's how
up.
it came.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, oh man, I forgot that this doesn't really have a lot of flavor. I need to figure out what to do. So I've experimented with one of them is a brine, and then I got kind of tired of the brine, trying that out and how long it's taking. And I was like, you know what I'm going to try? I'm going to just try a dry rub on this.
Yeah.
And so I've got a whole stack of about, I give about half of it to my in-laws. So I got about 5 pounds that are in brine.
Eat this tasteless bacon. Get it out of my house.
I care about you. So I got about 5 pounds worth of bacon that is in a dry rub, all just piled on top of each other neatly and all dry rubbed in between.
Wow.
And then I have about 5 pounds in a baggie that's in a brine.
That's a lot of bacon. So when is your first triple bypass?
Oh my goodness, it's so good. So I've been trying them every day and cooking a couple pieces every day from each one. And the brine one is actually coming along really nicely. The dry rub one's coming along too, but the brine one you have to give for about usually 3 to 7 days worth of brining.
Okay.
But I've also I've come the last time I tried it, which was yesterday, there was which would be day 2 of the brine. There was a drastic change.
So you might be
How
there.
can you say the brine needs 5 to 7 days, but you're on 2? Are you doing sections of the 5 pounds in brine? Is that what you're doing? You've started them at different times?
No, it just all depends on the.
It just all depends on the taste. That's why I'm cooking some each day to determine whether or not it's time for me to take it out of the brine and then freeze it essentially. So, and we lost Jeff.
Well, what I'm saying is, did you the 5 to 7 day number? Is that based on what you've read, or is that?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were saying it takes 5 to 7 days because of your experience up to 7 days.
No,
but you're only on 2 on the brine.
Based on what I have read, with a regular slab of pork belly, it would take about 5 to 7 or 3 to 7 days worth of brine to get the flavor in that you want.
So
and I did because I can't really smoke it because it doesn't really work with sliced bacon. Smoking doesn't really work that well with sliced bacon.
Try it.
You could. Yeah, it won't.
It's not going to work well.
Yeah. So I did have to use liquid smoke. I'm sorry for cussing on air. But I did have to use that.
If it gets the flavor you want, who cares?
Aaron does.
I do.
It's killing him inside.
I cook with propane. It's okay.
Well, we forgive
both of you. Get
too,
out.
But that explains it.
Look,
it does.
The propane grill, it's easier to manage the temperature. It's easier to get started. I don't know. I just
weak sauce. That's a weak argument.
It's easier.
So anyway,
I can still make stuff taste good.
My pork brine, and my bacon and my pork brine, is coming along pretty well actually.
So what's in the brine? What's in the rub? And is the rub one going to have any smoky flavor?
The brine, no, the rub one is not because it does not have smoke flavor in it. The brine is sugar, salt, water, liquid smoke.
That's it. No, like special spices or
no,
anything.
No, there's not. So it's a hickory liquid smoke. It is a real liquid smoke. It is not a fake liquid smoke. So,
which means it's not smoke. Period.
Wait, what's the difference there?
One is an artificially flavored, and the other one is they actually somehow
smoke the liquid.
Yeah, they actually like.
That's called a
anyway.
Basically, yeah.
Basically, yeah. I mean, more or less, yeah. It's kind of it. The rub is actually a rub that I use for everything. So it's got a ton of sugars in it.
Lowry's seasoned salt.
Montreal steak seasoning.
Yeah. It's got a lot of sugar. It's got sugar, salt, paprika. Oh geez, what else? I don't know. I made it a long time ago. I'd have to make some more. But anyway, it is a traditional rub for meat, for pork specifically. I usually when I do pulled pork. And that one's actually coming out really good. So I think after a couple days worth of being in there, that one's going to actually be super good too.
Nice. So I use for steak, I've done the last couple of times we've done steak, some friends of ours in Lynchburg owned a shop that was like, they call it like a tasting shop too, but they did like spices, salt, sugars, peppers, oils, vinegars, all this kind of stuff. And you could come in the shop and taste anything, and then you could buy it. Unfortunately, since then, recently they've closed it down and switched over to something else. But they used to give us a lot of stuff as like gifts, holidays and stuff. And so we have this they had this applewood smoked salt that was really good. And they had this sweet onion sugar. It almost tastes like a Funyun, actually, to be honest. But if you take and you mix roughly 50-50 the sweet onion sugar and the applewood smoked salt.
That does.
And then I use some smoked black peppercorns in there, and then rub it on the meat, let it sit for part of a day or whatever. That was really good. I threw on mine. My wife didn't like it. I also have some jalapeno sea salt from them. So I threw a little bit of that into mine as well. And that's really good.
Applewood smoked salt.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm about out of applewood smoked salt, so I'm going to have to find a place to get some more.
50-pound bag.
I don't know about that. No, but the little tiny tin that I have is about gone. So
San Francisco Salt Company. All right. So yeah, so that's
cool.
That's my
Very
exploits into brine.
Guys, what is this I keep hearing about? Buffets are going to be shutting down because of COVID?
No. It's Warren Buffett dumped all his airline stock. I think that's what you said.
Both stories are true.
More importantly, then tell me about the buffets.
Yeah, I know, because that is close to our arteries.
Okay, so I came across this article actually today on the Book of Faces. About
we woke up and immediately got on this recording, so I don't.
A soup plantation, sweet tomatoes.
I saw the same article.
It's like it's a restaurant. It's a buffet, salad buffet restaurant in California, and I think they have 90 something restaurants around that are all about the same type of thing. But they have 44 locations in California and 90 something locations total. They will not be reopening because of the restrictions that are going to be happening when all of this lets up and they can actually reopen their restaurants. They don't think that they're going to be able to maintain the requirements to stay open and bring their business back.
So is that because of the state they're in, or do you think that will be a trend throughout the country?
Apparently they've been looking, I think it's going to be a trend throughout the country. They've been looking at Georgia and Florida and what the restrictions are for restaurants there. And they've more or less come to realize that they cannot abide by those restrictions because they are a buffet.
Interesting.
So they're closing down all of their restaurants. And laid off, or I guess unemployed 4,400 people. Because
Shoney's breakfast buffet, man. Like,
right, Golden Corral.
All the bacon you can eat. That's why I couldn't remember the name of it. I just kept thinking the slop trough because that's what I
exactly.
And I'm like, what's the name? Yes.
But this was
Golden
something
Corral.
this was not even on my radar as far as restaurant wise would have thought about what was going on, but that makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
That's gonna
Here's
be
the thing.
Sufferer
Do you think once this spreads, everyone's got it, we reach herd immunity, like once it just becomes another disease that's out there, assuming that happens, because I'm still kind of operating under the assumption that that's going to happen, that eventually life's going to go on and it's just another one of these viruses that's out there. Like, when we reach that point, then what makes it any different right now than when people with snotty hands spread the flu every year at the Old Country Buffet or whatever?
I'll tell you, people aren't going to be coming.
Well, correct. For now, people like right now the market is going to, but as far as like
that's the big difference.
But you said the regulations, they're not going to be able to abide. Why do we need the regulations if normalcy is going to return at some point?
Well, right. I that's what I'm saying, but I'm saying the regulations until that point, they're not going to be able to abide by because people aren't
so it's the regulations that are going to kill them, not the people not coming. Which is it?
Well, yes.
Mathis is phased out.
Yes, I would say that it's both. I would say it's the regulations because you're going to have to, you can't have a self-serve because you can't have everybody, all over everybody else's stuff.
What you need is some sort of robot that just dispenses the thing. You push a button and it just dispenses it right onto your plate. Yeah. Like frozen yogurt machines for mashed potatoes.
Yeah. So I would say it's that, and then I would say that I don't see the restaurant business doing that well for the next couple of months. Just in reality of people not wanting to go.
Now it's starting to pick up.
That's what I'm saying.
So like we ate out last night. We ran some errands and we went ahead and ran and grabbed some Chipotle last night. And so when this first started, they did takeout only, but you could come in and pick up your takeout like normal. Then they completely locked the door and you just stood outside the door and they came out and asked you your name and brought you your food. Right. Last night when we showed up, we did the online order assuming you had to wait outside. We showed up, you could come inside to pick up your order now. You could not stay inside to eat, but you could also just come in. They had the whole, it's not really a buffet because you don't get it yourself, but they had the whole counter set up and you could come in and order.
Yep.
Right there behind the glass like normal, and they would make it for you. You just had to take it to go. So we're trending back toward open.
Our restaurants locally are starting to open up next week.
But those are restaurants that can do that type of thing.
Correct. Like sit-down restaurants are going to struggle. Like obviously buffet restaurants is a completely different story.
And I think that's the whole thing is it's these restaurant owners realize that, we can't wait another 9 to 10 months for us to be able to get back to normality.
You guys know what might get killed by this? CC's Pizza, or was it? What was the other one? What was the other one we got?
Pizza Ranch. We got here in the Midwest.
Stevie B.
Stevie B's had the was it the mac and cheese? No, the baked potato pizza. Yes. Remember that? The loaded baked potato pizza.
There was the mac and cheese one too.
College, we'd go get the college discount, and for like $7 or less,
it was like
$5.
I thought it was like $4.50 or something.
I think it was like $5 if you got water, and then like $7 if you got a drink.
The other thing I'm curious about this affecting is
why we all look like we do now.
Drink dispensers. Are you I noticed to do your own, like at McDonald's you go and they have at some McDonald's they have the
you can refill yourself.
Right, the drink bar, I guess, or whatever they call that.
Yeah.
The soda fountain.
Is everybody going to go Chick-fil-A style?
Right.
But then you're taking a cup back behind the counter that someone's touched. So really, is everyone going to go to no refills and all of a sudden all refills are gone and they're making a lot more money off you?
Or maybe they're just going to give you a new cup.
Then, if they do that, prices will go through the roof.
Interesting thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, but those are some curious things that I've just been inundated with this week because of the book face.
Guys, I know this is shocking, and judging by my figure, you couldn't tell. I don't like buffets.
That actually does shock me.
I don't like them. I don't like them.
I'm okay with some.
So the question is, do you want a small amount of good food or a lot of not so good
food? I'd rather have a small amount of really good food.
Like a Golden Corral used to appeal to me, I think, is like in the teenage years.
Yeah, in college.
And it tasted pretty good. You're like, this is fine. And honestly, it was closer to home cooked food than what you got in the dining common half the time. So
it's true. It's true.
Whatever.
It is true.
But as an adult, I'm like, they charge so much at like a Golden Corral anymore. I don't get, like, if I'm trying to be even remotely like conscious of what I eat, and even if I stuff myself, I'm not really getting my money's worth anymore, I don't think.
The thing that you don't touch with those is the chocolate.
The chocolate fountain. Don't touch the fountain.
Don't do fondue.
When you see the little kids in there with their whole hand like all up in there. No! That chocolate's coming back around in 2 minutes.
Chocolate is chunky. It's chunky.
The Chinese buffet, I'll still do a Chinese buffet.
No.
I'll still do a Chinese buffet.
I'm with Jeff on that, man.
No,
Chinese buffets get me.
It's just as good as Chinese takeout. Like, it's the same food. They're good at it's just good food.
Our local Chinese buffets got me twice. So,
and if you go at the right time and get the right price, you get your money's worth.
It's true, but as I said.
And true.
Our local places got me twice, and it was bad.
But if you think of it that way, Mathis, you can eat all that food, and you don't really gain any weight.
Now, Hibachi Grill? Now we're talking.
Yeah, but a hibachi grill breaks your wallet.
Dude, when they do the onion ring volcano.
Or not hibachi. Mongolian Grill.
Oh, you're going to eat at a Mongolian barbecue?
Yeah.
You want to talk about places that seem filthy before COVID. There's just all this raw meat. Like, don't get me wrong. I love the food. I pile my bowl.
I know.
I get a ton of food. But you want to talk about places that just feel filthy as you're picking through raw chicken and steak and putting it in a bowl.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how that survives before COVID. But you know what? I fill my bowl so full of meat, toss a couple veggies and noodles on top to feel good about myself.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Try like
guys,
6 different sauces.
Guys,
and then, yes, it's
50% veg makes it a salad. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat the meat. I paid the price. I get one bowl. I'm going to
do that.
Why would you go to one of those places and feel guilty about eating what you want?
Exactly. If I want to
why in heaven's name
I make a salad when I'm at home.
Right. Don't go to a restaurant and order a salad. Why would you do that?
Like a good taco salad, a fajita taco salad, something like that.
You
Yes,
got
yes.
that. But
yes.
I'm saying though, like with Aaron, like you're nuts, man.
I'm gonna put mini corn and cucumbers in my bowl at a Mongolian barbecue.
It normally doesn't become a salad.
As long as I've got 50%, I'm okay, and I will not feel guilty about my waistline.
I am at the Mongolian barbecue to destroy my waistline. That's my goal that day.
Exactly.
I will starve myself the other days of the week so I can go do that day.
My goal is how long will it take before I become a detriment and they will kick me out because I'm costing them too much money?
Nice.
Guys, when I was a kid, we had a couple who helped us move to Vermont from Connecticut. Guy's name was Big Pete. He was like six,
like literally
Big
Pete, like it was on his.
That was his name.
Birth certificate.
His name? Oh, I don't know.
Yes.
His name was Pete.
Big last name.
Anyways, we were at Ponderosa Steakhouse, which is a buffet.
Ponderosa.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We were asked to leave. We were asked to leave.
I remember Ponderosa too. That used to be like a big Sunday afternoon. Like every once in a while you go to Ponderosa. Excellent.
Yeah.
The appeal was they actually supposedly had steaks up there.
Yeah.
You know, like,
even though my family never got those, it was just a buffet.
Steak. Steak.
Exactly.
It's a loose term. Steak.
We had this place locally called the U.S. Steak Buffet.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it was legit a steak buffet, but as steak.
That's the same thing with Golden Corral at this point. That's why it's like $27.
Now, I did go to this place
right.
I went to this place in Florida once, which was a seafood buffet with lobsters. That was kind of interesting.
I'm not a huge fan of lobster.
I've seen Chinese buffets that have crab legs.
It was I've done that. But this was like there were lobsters on there, and you could get like
I'm not a big seafood
one
guy.
lobster per trip to the buffet.
Like, wait,
wow.
Yeah.
Yowzy.
Yeah.
So just make a lot of trips.
How many did you down?
I think I did like 3 of them.
Now, dude, you come along. Now, a good one is when you go to the Shrimp Fest for Red Lobster.
Oh yeah,
dude, knock down some shrimp,
guys.
Shrimp or whatever.
Have you
guys.
been to a Red Lobster lately? They are like,
no, I haven't.
They have not changed since the 1990s. Like they look exactly the same inside.
I honestly. The last time I may have been to a Red Lobster was, I'm pretty sure your dad took us to Red Lobster right by campus when we came to visit college one time.
Dude,
and that might be the last time I've been to Red Lobster.
They have never changed. It looks exactly the same.
We just,
like the decor, not that it's
we
not
buy
nice
their Cheddar Bay
inside,
biscuit mix and make the biscuits at home.
Oh, man. Yeah, dude.
Guys, 2 words. Brazilian Steakhouse.
I have not been to one.
No! Ozzy,
not been to one.
Get out here. Jeff will be here. We'll make Tombstone show up. We will go to one.
All right, let's do it.
Because
I've been to Black Rock. I've been to Black Rock, which is an interesting experience.
What is that?
You're really just paying a little more to cook your own steak. So
yes.
I think they started here in Michigan.
I know.
So these
are
the places that have like the chunks. They have the chunk of volcanic rock that heat to like 700 degrees, and they bring your steak still uncooked, sitting on the rock, cooking. and then you just slice off pieces of it and sit it on the rock and just cook it to your liking and eat it.
That's awesome.
It's an interesting experience when you stop and think about it. You're just paying slightly more to cook your own food.
Yeah.
Right in front of you.
You know what?
But it was a good experience.
Thing.
We did it for an anniversary.
We went to the melting pot once. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, fondue place, yeah.
So so you cook the meat in like oil and stuff like that. Really cool experience.
Oh yeah, you can do that too.
The food was okay. It wasn't amazing, but you're cooking it yourself.
But I think that's the thing about those places is that it's the ambiance.
You're doing the experience.
What you were paying for is we had 2 hours of just sitting and talking to each other. It was amazing.
Unfortunately,
but don't tell my wife.
Unfortunately, Black Rock has not been.
She'll want to do it again.
To go.
Melting pot closed actually in Atlantic City.
Oh well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the fire alarm went
Black
off.
Rock's not
gonna have to take that up and go to Olive Garden.
For some reason, they won't put a 700-degree rock in a to-go container and give it to you to cook
that's
steak. I don't really understand.
It's weird. It's weird. I know. It's rough.
That's even that's worse than putting those disclaimers on the front of Disney movies.
That's right. But
that's where that is.
Brazilian Steakhouse, Mathis. So the only thing is, that's the one where they like set everything on fire next to the table, right?
I'm okay with that.
Like they usually do the big like
they bring the
fire.
No,
they do that. They bring the alcohol and they do the woof and they do the big flame next to the table. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I have some friends. Some dishes when they come to the table, they like sear it at the table with fire. Okay?
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that
at Brazilian steakhouses. That's like a common thing there. I think Ozzy's agreeing with me. He's seen.
I've never been to one.
I've never seen this.
I've
Jeff.
never been to one either, but I see this advertised.
I've never seen the flames at the table. They bring you skewers of meat, and you're like, pile it on my plate. And that's how it ends.
Well, I've seen
yes, please.
The advertisement for flames at the table, and I have some friends who went to one of these places, and the waiter screwed up and actually caught her on fire.
Did he stab her?
Her hair and like part of her neck. And,
okay, that's terrifying.
It was actually a pretty scary experience.
Well, so that's why they don't do it anymore.
She's okay now.
That may be why
she's
no
okay
one else
now.
has ever seen this.
But just so I was
apparently
just
this is a one-off.
Trying to invite me to a Brazilian steakhouse. If you're trying to set me on fire.
No. They might drop a knife on you, but no, that's the worst.
No, that's all right.
That's the worst part. I mean,
now skewers of meat.
Dude,
massive.
We actually did. We did kebabs
fine.
on the grill last weekend.
Ooh. Well, now that we're all hungry,
man, are we still doing a show?
Yeah.
We've been doing the show. I'm
yeah,
not
wait,
really sure.
wait, guys, are we recording? Was this the break? I don't really know.
I hit the outro music like 4 times and it still didn't run. There we go. We'll be right back.
Here it is.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
The essence of the American character is to explore new horizons and to tame new frontiers. We must have American dominance in space. Very importantly, I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to immediately begin the process necessary to establish a Space Force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
Gentlemen, they are recruiting. Space Force, that is.
That's out of this world.
It is. I mean,
what was the Galaxy Quest slogan? Like, you can earn
Oh
your...
my gosh. Never give up.
Never surrender.
Surrender.
The message of the first commercial is maybe your purpose on this planet isn't on this planet.
My purpose is to serve as a warning to others.
Well, yeah.
Correct. Yes. Apparently your parents said that to you a few times.
That's horrible.
It is.
But oh so funny.
That's why we have you on the show.
I'm so ashamed.
All right, guys. Here is.
Can you play the ad for us?
Yeah. So here it is. You guys,
I have not heard
you guys
this yet,
probably
so this
can't hear it, but you guys can definitely listen to it. If you're on YouTube, it is playing on YouTube. Hold on. Where's the audio?
What?
Oh, here we go.
Some people look to the stars and ask, what if? Our job is to have an answer. We have to imagine what will be imagined. Plan for what's possible while it's still impossible. Maybe you weren't put here just to ask the questions. Maybe you were put here to be the answer. Maybe your purpose on this planet isn't on this planet.
United States Space Force. Guys, I actually like that commercial.
It is kind of exciting.
I like it. I'm like, hey.
It was catchy. It was catchy.
I can dig it.
Like, yeah, I'm guys.
So, did you sign up?
Wait, what? Do I look like a Space Force candidate?
I mean, you could be.
Well, they can't make you run in space, so
that's a good point.
And weight doesn't mean anything. And weight doesn't mean anything in space. So,
what are you implying, Jeff?
They've already. All right, this is all I'm saying.
Unless they're going off of BMI,
they've already gotten several tungsten rods into space. How hard would it be?
It's true. This whole Space Force thing seems ridiculous.
You don't weigh as much as the tungsten rod, so we'll get you there.
I don't know, Jeff. How heavy are the tungsten rods? You're the one who knows.
That's classified.
Oh, okay.
Boo. Weak sauce.
They're significantly lighter after re-entering the atmosphere, but still heavy enough to cause quite the impact.
Do you get recruited for the Space Force? Like, do you try to join the Space Force to begin with, or do you join the Air Force and then try to move into the Space Force?
I don't know. That's a good question.
What happens? I have the answer for that, Ozzy. So you're going through life and you have some sort of weird encounter where you think you've encountered like aliens or something weird. And then these guys will show up in black suits with sunglasses.
Like Will Smith.
And if they don't flash a light at you, you will probably get recruited.
So if you don't get flashed, you get recruited.
Wait, what?
Don't get the flashy thingy. If you don't get the flashy thingy, you get recruited. That's how it works. Ask Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones.
Air Force officers.
Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith show up.
You're screwed.
And Thor.
No, you're recruited. You're recruited, not screwed.
If Thor shows up.
Correct. If Thor or Iron Man show up, you're also recruited. So Captain America, he's out now, but
so Air Force officers.
Captain America's out now, so is Iron Man. I mean, come on. At least Captain America
that's true.
didn't die.
My bad. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Wow.
Any of you who haven't seen that year-old film.
Wow, spoiler alert.
Good point.
Air Force officers and enlisted personnel will be given the opportunity to apply to transfer directly in the U.S. Space Force next month. So they have to be already active duty personnel.
Oh, okay.
That's the current for officers. Right. But what about enlisted?
Well, officers and enlisted. Both officers and enlisted will be given the opportunity to transfer.
I'm so curious about how they're going to do training and stuff for this, like, because we've seen NASA, but NASA on like a full military scale.
Dark side of the moon, baby.
I am super curious. I'm thinking G.I. Joe.
Their secret base.
Yeah, I'm thinking G.I. Joe. Is where my mind goes.
I did have an outer space G.I. Joe. I did have a G.I. Joe kit that was the outer space one.
See, we've been preparing for this our whole lives.
Our whole lives.
Okay,
It's our time, gentlemen.
Someone is taking a massive hammer to stuff inside my house. I'm listening to it.
Well, is it your wife or your children? And either way, I
suspect it's my father-in-law.
We dropped just a small rod. It was just a small rod for a test fire.
It's like all of a sudden the whole house starts shaking, and I'm like, whoa. It's a massive hammer. I don't know what they're doing.
We're close. We were close with the rod.
Close.
Okay.
So they're looking to take in 6,000 to 7,000 people, and the transfers begin September 1st. They can work through the chain of command to examine options, including applying to retrain for other Air Force specialties. It doesn't say anything about going to space.
So they're going to do the experiments on you where they like harden your bones and increase your reflexes, and then
intelligence, cyberspace operations, developmental engineer.
You're going to be the guinea pig that
you're going to be Spartan 117.
Super soldier serum didn't work on.
There is nothing about going to space at all.
You're the one that came before Captain America. All of those dudes.
You're the one that came. You're the ones that came before Spartan 117, who ended up with some weird deformities. Yeah.
Right.
I'll let my inner geek out. I read the Halo books. They were good.
Wow. You really watched that?
That's basically what's going to be.
Watched? Read
really
the Halo
that?
books. They're good.
They're pretty. Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what we're talking
they're
about
actually,
now, right? Is going to be Halo.
I loved the Halo series because they were realistic, futuristic books, if that makes sense. Like the weapons were very real. They're very, very obvious. You could see the link of how we could get there in
They're
another
probably going to go after the guy who wrote Halo like they did with Tom Clancy whenever he wrote Red October.
Oh man.
That's probably what's going to happen.
When we develop railguns and armor and
how did you know all this?
Well, guys, I
swear, if they call their Land Rover the Warthog, dude, I'm going to lose it. That would be amazing.
For those of us,
they've already used that on the A10.
Still
wasn't it Warthog? Wasn't that what it's called? Or what was it called?
Yeah. No, that's what they called it in Halo, but we already have the A10, so yeah.
For those of us still stuck here on Earth, we have the option to use a futuristic lawnmower.
Do we?
We do. There's no audio in this because there's some copyrighted material in there.
Did this come from Space Force research?
This is a hoverboard.
That's disappointing.
Hoverboard lawnmower.
At least we got Tang from NASA.
Basically, it looks like an upside down wheelbarrow with a motor on it.
And it hovers?
No, you have to push it, Jeff.
Dude.
That would be awesome, though.
That would be. I would pay for that.
Look at this thing.
I don't quite understand what it's doing.
So, all right.
The handles.
What's it called?
It looks like they're pushing really hard.
It's the Sun Joe.
It's a Sun Joe mower. So
it's an electric mower.
This is an electric $99 mower that does not come with wheels.
Complete so that you can drive over the cord.
You gotta buy it later.
Here's what I can gather. Basically, it is
QVC is live. We're watching this live on the Front Porch Show.
It's a large Tupperware container that they flipped upside down.
It looks like a wheelbarrow.
They've attached a weed whacker head to it. They've attached a weed whacker head to the bottom of it, and also a fan so that it sucks the air down through and pushes it out to make it hover, quote unquote. They've given it a midget handle so that if you're if you're anything taller than 5 foot,
it is not mowing very consistently.
You will not be able to do
this lady. This lady is like bent over trying to push it. So if you're taller than Oslin, you're hosed.
What are you implying?
I think Ozzy's actually the same height as me, but it just seemed a good joke.
Man, the mow is terrible.
It's horrible.
Yeah, because you think about it, it's trying to push itself up away from the ground.
Right.
So it's pushing air down, but a lawnmower is designed to suck air up to lift the blades up, to lift the blades of grass up to cut.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So it's pushing air down. So how is that even supposed to work? So it's basically just an enclosed weed whacker.
It's so bad. Yeah, and it doesn't even.
And then you don't get all the cool lines in your. And you don't even get all the cool lines in your lawn.
No, because it's not even.
No. But that's one of the things that
it's just mowing your lawn with a weed whacker.
The example they give is you don't have those lines anymore. You have a nice.
Those lines are what.
It's not even, Ozzy.
Beautiful.
You have a nice even.
I'm looking at this lumpy lawn.
Keep going left and right with it. I'm pretty sure these people don't know that weed whackers exist. That's where
That is true. You can just whip it around left and right, but
no, don't do that, Jeff. That'll get you arrested.
It's basically like the big weed whackers where you use the shoulder harness and you can freely rotate them. Guys, I thought we were slightly more mature than that.
Ozzy's done. Ozzy's done.
I give up. Folks, we need Tombstone back so desperately.
And to think, Jeff was going to leave us this morning.
I should have gone and scouted that turkey hunting site because
shoulder harness got me.
Guys,
wait, it's a snow. Wait.
Yes,
this says it's a Snow Joe and a Sun Joe. What's
no,
Snow Joe?
I don't know.
A Snow Joe
does it come with the shoulder harness?
Oh.
There's no recovering.
No,
Can I just take us to a break? Because there's no recovering for you hosers.
We're done. It's a show. Guys,
that does not look easier.
So if you would like to cut your lawn and throw your snow, you can get the
go get a Joe. www.thefrontporchshow.com. You can hear us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Just swing it around.
I regret everything.
Hang out with your friends.
I hope we're not back next week.
We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.